Welcome everyone to this week's AEW Dynamite. We are now just 2 weeks out from our first ever trip over the pond to the UK, and things have never been more tense than they are right now. That trip is certainly shaping up to be quite the debut for AEW in the UK. The women's division is hotting up. Tonight we find out who will be joining Toni Storm, Dr. Britt Baker and Mickie James in that fatal 4-way championship match with a 10-woman battle royale tonight. Brandy Rhodes doing wonders for the women's division initiative. And last week we saw the return of Kenny Omega as he helped his elite brethren tackle Villain Enterprises, which brings us to tonight's main event. Omega versus Carl Anderson. Anderson out for a bit of revenge after falling victim to not just a V-trigger, but a one-winged angel also. And gents, I wonder if Jericho accepts Darby's proposal from last week. But anyway, kicking tonight's show off, we got the Hangman, Adam Page, challenging Jungle Boy. Let's go. So 53, we've come to know that sort of segment rating from our three commentators. So then, let's have a look at tonight's card. We're going to see FTR team up once again to take on the Hybrid 2. We've been looking for more action in the ring. We've also got that 10-woman battle royale to determine the final competitor for the fatal 4-way over in the UK. Also, we'll have Darby Allin in action against the Inner Circle's Sammy Guevara. And that main event tonight, Kenny Omega versus Carl Anderson, should be a good one. But up next, Hangman Adam Page versus Jungle Boy, as Page looks to kick on with his singles career. And it is a decent match, and it's Hangman Page that defeats Jungle Boy in 10 minutes 45 after a turn the page. It's a 64 segment rating. Page with an in-ring performance of a 75. Jungle Boy improving slightly with a 31 there. We have seen Jungle Boy get about a 24, 25 before, so it seems as though he's slowly improving, although he's still on a bit of a losing streak, which we do need to start turning around slightly. But everything else, I mean, it looked great, as you'd expect from these two. We did have Cash, Dax and Tully at ringside, all a part of the three. I'm not sure what to call them. Do I stick with the three or the Three Horsemen with Tully Blanchard? I'm not sure. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. But there we go. Hangman Page picks up a yet another singles win as we move into the next segment. Hangman Page stands in the middle of the ring, emotionless after winning his match. He gets flanked by Cash and Dax, who start getting ready for their match, which is also up next against the Hybrid 2. They stare down Jungle Boy, who rolls out the ring to his Jurassic Express teammates, Luchasaurus and Marco Stunt. The Three Horsemen, or the Three, looking good and on a roll at the moment. And this is really good to see. Tully Blanchard helping Cash during this segment, and also Dax. I think we got that. Did we get that in the previous episode? I love seeing that, because not only is he doing it in real life, he's also doing it in this TEW 2020 save. We then head backstage, where we see Matt and Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks, entering the Elite locker room. Kenny Omega is sat getting ready for his match, and on in the background is Dynamite, as Hangman has just picked up his win. Matt Jackson, hey Kenny, you okay man? As good as I'll ever be. Hey look, about full gear with Page. Don't. I'll confront that when I'm ready. I know what I have to do. For now, I'm in to help with this issue of Villain Enterprises. Yeah, sure. Look, tonight, just know we have your back. Matt and Nick leave, as Omega says, thanks. He twitches a little as Hangman and FTR, well, it says leaving the ring, but we know that FTR are staying in the ring because their match is up next against the Hybrid 2. This segment getting a 79, which we've come to know from the Elite. Doesn't matter who you stick in a segment, whether it's just Kenny on his own or Kenny with Matt. It doesn't really matter. We're always going to get 70s to 80s for these type of segments. But Kenny Omega, something still just doesn't seem right with him at the moment. You guys are just going to have to stick with it As we move into our next segment, we see Chris Jericho backstage on his own as he cuts a promo. Darby Allin, a street rat, nothing more than a kid that likes to skate. Last week, I'll give it to him, he showed balls. Said that he wants to end the career of Le Champion, Chris Jericho. I don't take lightly to those type of claims. You need to show some respect, you son of a bitch. You say I've made you smarter. Well, if that's the case, don't show up tonight for your match against Sammy. Now, Brody Lee, 2 weeks ago you ran down 3 members of my inner circle. You're lucky that no one was seriously injured. You're lucky that I've decided not to press charges. Instead, I'd rather beat the living shit out of you and end this charade that is your Dark Order. Be ready for war. Jericho walks off with those pursed lips as he gets a 73 segment rating for this promo. So there's a lot going on at the moment. We've got Darby Allin sandwiched in between the Dark Order and the Inner Circle. Hopefully that'll be coming to an end at some point, and maybe then we can just focus on the Dark Order and the Inner Circle, and Darby Allin can go on and do something else. We'll have to wait and see how that one plays out. But up next, in a decent match, it's FTR that defeat the Hybrid 2 in just over 14 minutes. It's Dax that gets the pin on Jack Evans after the Goodnight Express. Angelico was the weak link. It's a decent match, as it says, a 66. You know, when I first started playing TEW, I always thought, a 66 was quite poor. And because we didn't get that deep green colour, I always thought, it's a poor match. But it's not 66. I mean, you see NXT in the save getting in the 60s, and they managed to get an overall rating of up towards 80 at least, week in, week out. So we really shouldn't overlook those 60 ratings for matches. Anyway, up next, we cut to the outside where Chuck Taylor and Trent Beretta, the best friends, are brawling with the AEW Tag Team Champions, Pentagon Jr. and Rey Fenix. Some bad blood between these two teams after what Pac did to Orange Cassidy last week. Pac joins in eventually as it becomes a 3-on-2 death triangle, getting the upper hand and leave the best friends hurting outside by some bins. So, very similar to Best Friends brawl with Santana and Ortiz in real life on AEW Dark. Obviously, Death Triangle getting the upper hand. It is a must for this storyline. As we get a 65 for that. Trent, Pentagon not doing so well in that segment. As our next segment is a cinematic video. It plays as we see MJF and Wardlow earlier this week wearing suits and holding a Louis Vuitton bag. They approach the back of what looks like a butcher's shop. Quite a seedy place. He bangs on the back door, which is pulled open by the Blade. He steps inside and Blade slides the door shut. Inside, the Butcher and the Blade stand together as MJF clicks his finger at Wardlow to show them the money inside the bag. They accept and simply say, "Pleasure doing business with you." MJF and Wardlow leave as Butcher begins counting the money. So we've seen this before in real life. MJF paying the Butcher and the Blade to do his dirty work, and he certainly needs it at the moment with Team Taz breathing down his neck, and Wardlow, who doesn't seem to be up to scratch at the moment for MJF's needs. So stay tuned to find out what happens there. And up next, in a bout that didn't have much heat and terrible wrestling, Chris Statlander overcomes 9 other women to become that final member for the Fatal 4-Way match over in the UK in 2 weeks' time. The other members of the Final 4 were Sarah Rowe, Nyla Rose and Riho, with Sarah Rowe being the final elimination. So close, but no cigar for Sarah Rowe. And she also got the most eliminations over the course of the match. So she comes out of this match looking strong, even though she didn't make that championship match in the UK. And you'll notice that Awesome Kong is back from filming duties. So that's certainly a boost for the women's division. Tay Conti also featured in this match, although getting penalised a few times. Alison Kay, Penelope Ford, pretty vocal crowd. But there we go. So after quite the battle royale, and can't seem to spell there as I've wrote that out. Brandy Rhodes comes out at the top of the entranceway with mic in hand, and she goes on to say, ladies and gentlemen, over in the UK then, it'll be Toni Storm defending her title against Mickie James, Chris Statlander, and Dr. Britt Baker. All four have shown what it means to be here in AEW. All four will give it their all over in the UK. Toni Storm, Mickie James, Chris Statlander, and Dr. Britt Baker join Brandy at the top of the entranceway as Brandy continues. This is just a start for the women here in AEW. We will continue to evolve. We will continue to expand. We will become the most watched. We will become elite because we are woman. May the best woman win in 2 weeks. All four face each other. Toni Storm raises her title above her head as the crowd applauds. And it's a fantastic segment rating of a 51. Everyone performing well in this segment. And I'm expecting quite the battle come that UK special. You've got, I hate saying it, but you've kind of got the past there, that experience with Mickie James. You've got the present with Britt Baker and Toni Storm, and the future with Chris Statlander. It's a nice mix, I think, as we move into our next segment. DDP is seen walking backstage. He knocks on the locker room door of Lance Archer and Jake Roberts. Jake opens and DDP steps inside and says, Jake, can we speak in private? He looks over at Lance Archer, who is watching. Archer gets up and almost towers over DDP and says, whatever you gotta say to Jake, you can say in front of me. DDP swallows. Look, Jake, we've been through it all, man. I know you and you know me. This isn't what I wanted for you, dude. When you said you wanted to get back into the business. All this right here, it's ending people's careers. Look at Matt Hardy. Archer squares up to DDP and says, you know, Dallas, I think it's best you leave. Now. He grabs DDP by the shirt and shoves him back out through the door, which he slams behind him. DDP can't believe it. We get a 60 hit. 2 veterans off the business in Jake Roberts and DDP. DDP does have low morale at the moment simply because I haven't been using him up until now. So hopefully we can turn that around over the next couple of weeks. We'll have to wait and see as we roll into our next match of the evening between Darby Allin and Sammy Guevara. And it's a 79 rated match. It's about that had great wrestling and good heat. These two did face off at Revolution earlier in the year in real life, and it ended in a draw. It was a double count out, and you can see that Darby Allin took a stump bump during this match. My idea was they took the fight to the outside, they battled all the way up to the entranceway, Darby Allin throwing Sammy Guevara onto the concrete below and then hitting that coffin drop of his onto Sammy Guevara, and it just wasn't enough time to get back into the ring. We had Jericho as the road agent, Mike Posey as the ref, but both guys putting in one hell of a shift. Great match overall, and the reason for the match going up to the entranceway is for this next segment. Both Darby Allin and Sammy Guevara are hurting on the concrete floor after falling off the stage. Jericho and Jeff Cobb look on, concerned by the commentary desk. They did come out the commentary desk. They were at ringside. Forgot to mention, Evil Uno and Stu Grayson come out and attack Jericho and Cobb from behind. All four stop to trade blows at the top of the entranceway. Medics are seen to Darby and Sammy as refs try to break up Jericho, Cobb and Evil Uno and Stu Grayson. Jericho manages to fend off Stu Grayson as Cobb beats down Evil in front of the TNT screen between both entranceways. Cobb walks down the entrance ramp, then turns and runs full steam, spearing Evil Uno straight into and through the LED TNT sign, causing sparks to fly. Fans shouting, "Holy shit! Holy shit!" Jericho watches on. Little does he know Darby is back to his feet and has his skateboard in hands. Jericho slowly turns around and gets rocked by the skateboard. Darby Allin stands tall, but is then chased off by Santana and Ortiz, who come dashing out from the back. It's insane how they all are tearing themselves apart. The Dark Order, the Inner Circle, Darby Allin. It's getting crazy. And that segment, I feel as though it's going to happen at some point in real life when we get back to having shows in different arenas with the fans, when that TNT sign comes back, that LED board. It's very reminiscent as well of when Rhino speared Jericho through the SmackDown stage all those years ago. Incredible. And I think this was great as well, having Evil Uno and Jeff Cobb, two big guys going straight through the board. As we roll into our next segment, we turn to the commentary desk with JR, and he goes on to say, well, ladies and gentlemen, whilst the crew clear things up out here after what's just happened, let me just take a moment to say that just announced by Tony Khan, on the final edition of AEW Dynamite this year over in the UK, we will have a Battle of Britain Battle Royale, with the winner receiving a shot at Jon Moxley's AEW World Championship, which will include Team Taz, MJF, Lance Archer, and lots more. It's going to be quite the battle, I believe, with almost 50 to 20 men taking part. I think that's the highest rating we've had for, I think this is the first segment we've done with just JR. But to get a 71 with just an announcer, that's great to see. So, over in the UK, we will have a Battle of Britain, including the likes of Brian Cage, MJF, Lance Archer, and many more. Will be interesting. Anyway, up next, it's the main event of the evening. TV time remaining. In a bout that had great heat and decent wrestling, Kenny Omega defeats Carl Anderson after just 15 minutes with that one-winged angel. Scores a 78 this match. Kenny Omega with a 77 in-ring performance. Carl Anderson with a 50. And that's really disappointing that Omega and Anderson didn't seem to click, as it made an awkward bout, this one. But the match got the crowd buzzing. They still managed to pull through, these two. And I felt, it's basic but effective booking. We had Omega return last week, helping out his elite friends, clearing house, and it was Carl Anderson that was left, and he was on the receiving end of the V-trigger, the one-winged angel. Just had to happen, and I think that's something what AEW would do in real life. The following week, they'd have this as a match, and there we have it. So Kenny Omega comes out on top, and everything then descends into chaos once again like last week. Kenny Omega continues to beat down Carl Anderson. Brody King and Marty Scurll then rush out to aid their Villain Enterprises partner, but get cut off at the entranceway by the Elite. Cody, Nick, and Matt Jackson. An all-out brawl ensues. Eventually it breaks down. Villain Enterprises come together on the entrance ramp, and the Elite come together in the ring. Cody calls for a mic. Enough! This has gone on for far too long already. I'm sick of this. People thinking they have a right to come to AEW. Marty, you was on my list of people to call. I was just waiting for the right time. I've now come to the conclusion there will never be a right time for someone like you. Let's finish this. You and me, in the UK, your home. I want to embarrass you in front of your countrymen, Marty. I want to beat you until you bleed. And when I win, you're gone from AEW, never to return. Cody throws the mic down full of rage as Villain Enterprises walk away. This week's edition of AEW Dynamite comes to an end. We get an 88 segment rating. Cody on the mic is absolute fire. And the match is made. Cody versus Marty Scurll in the UK. It's not to be missed. If Marty loses, he's gone from AEW. I felt with all the controversy surrounding Marty Scurll, I think it's probably time that, we'll see how things go. I mean, at one point, I did plan for this story to go on for quite some time. The Elite against their former friends or their friends that, they've come to know through many years of being in the business. Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, Brody King, Marty, and so on. Marty was once part of the Elite, and he was forgotten by them after creating and putting together AEW. that was the idea, but the way it just doesn't sit right with me, and I'd hate to think that there's any of you guys sat at home feeling a bit uncomfortable watching it after what happened with Marty. But there we have it. It's a great show. Overall rating of 79, although we could have gained popularity in 2 American and 3 Canadian regions. Definitely need to sort that out, because this seems to becoming quite the occurrence now, week after week. But overall, really happy with that. Some decent matches in there. FTR beating the Hybrid 2. The Hybrid 2 getting some action on Dynamite as well, seeing that we're not doing Dark at the moment. Darby Allin and Sammy Guevara leaving it all out there in and kind of out the ring as well. And that main event was quite something. The best match of the night, though, of course, was Darby Allin and Sammy Guevara. Let's go and have a look at the ratings then. This week then, we scored a 1.82 TV rating with a total of 1.36 million viewers tuning in. We had an attendance of 7,311. Not too bad. TNT's rating though, we got a 1.17 with just 881 tuning in. And for NXT, well, we blew them out the water with our show rating this week, but they did beat us on total viewers as they scored a 1.439 million viewers this week. So there we have it anyway. That is it for this edition of AEW Dynamite. We are just 2 more shows away from the final pay-per-view, the final Dynamite of the year. Hope you guys have enjoyed. I'll see you all soon for the next one.